Okay, to Halacha Yomi. We're up to page 270 and Halacha 78. One may not measure flour or anything else with a measuring cup on Yom Tov. Rather, you should approximate the needed amount without a measuring cup. However, if the only cup you have to pour out flour is a measuring cup, you should use a little bit more or less than what you need. You shouldn't use it at the marker that you need it for. 79, when preparing dough on Yom Tov, you have to do hafrashat challah. Let's say a person makes dough on Yom Tov and bakes on Yom Tov, you gotta separate challah. However, you're not allowed to burn the challah on Yom Tov. Usually when you separate challah, you gotta burn it. The Mishnah says that about the gifts to the Kohen, truma, let's say. When it's tameh, you have to burn it. That's the halacha. Any impure truma has to be burnt. That's halacha. So why don't we give our challah to the Kohen? Challah originally was supposed to be given to the Kohen. So we don't give challah to the Kohen because, first of all, maybe he's impure, and there's no point in giving it to him anyways. He can't eat it. So that's why we burn it. Or the challah, the second we touch it, we're all tameh, so we make it tameh, and the rule is tameh, truma, usually you burn. So that's why you have to burn the challah, preferably. People today, it's very inconvenient for them to burn it, so they throw it out in the garbage. They maybe throw some soap on it, ruin it, and they throw it in the garbage. It's not the right thing to do, though. The right thing to do is to burn the challah. The little piece of bread that separates challah, you gotta burn it. So can you burn it on Yom Tov? No. You're not allowed to burn it on Yom Tov. You should put it aside to be burnt afterwards. The minimum amount of flour you're using to be obligated in challah is 1,560 grams of flour. That's going to be around 3.5 pounds. Some opinions argue and say you have to use 5 pounds, but Halacha, according to Shulchan Aruch, already explained, you need to use 3.5 pounds. Already you separate challah with a bracha. 80. One may not separate challah on Yom Tov if the dough was made before Yom Tov. Similarly, you cannot separate masrot and trumot on Yom Tov. Trumot and masrot is you have, let's say in Israel, you live in the land of Israel, and you pick some fruits and things from your tree outside. So you have to give truma and maser from these fruits that you picked. You have to take the pile. You have to separate 10%. And make the bracha before you separate, and then separate it. So you're not allowed to do that separation in order to eat the rest on Yom Tov. 81. When preparing cookies or other pastries on Yom Tov, one may not use a cookie cutter. Furthermore, one may not make any sort of shape as a star or flower, even with your hands. However, a cookie or a cake in a specific shape, or one with words or pictures, may be eaten on Yom Tov and Shabbat. It's not considered erasing. Okay, let's move on to 83. Molid. It is permissible creating a new entity. It is permissible to make ice on Yom Tov. It's not considered creating a new entity when you freeze the ice into cubes. Similarly, Sfaradim hold you're allowed to make ice cream and jello on Yom Tov. How do you make ice cream? You could take butter, you take milk, even if you put it in a Ziploc, and then take that Ziploc and put it in another bag with ice and shake it. It'll eventually turn into ice cream. Maybe not the perfect consistency, you need to know how to do it, but technically you can make ice cream like that. So can you do that on Yom Tov? Yeah, freezing it and turning it into more of a solid is allowed on Yom Tov. 84. Preferably one who wants to prepare a chocolate spread should make it before Yom Tov, but if you didn't, you could prepare the chocolate spread on Yom Tov. Cheese and butter may not be made on Yom Tov. That is a sur. You have to churn the milk, churn the milk into butter. You're not allowed to do that on Yom Tov. You are allowed to make seltzer on Shabbat and Yom Tov. So we have some people have a machine at home. They take water, they put it in the machine, and it adds CO2 into the bottle and makes it seltzer. You're allowed to do that on Shabbat and Yom Tov. 87. One may spread butter and other similar foods on bread. Okay. 88. Salting. While there are stringent opinions, one may salt food on Yom Tov. 89. Even according to more stringent opinions, one may lightly salt vegetables for flavor on Yom Tov. 90. Just like on Shabbat, one may not pickle vegetables on Yom Tov with vinegar or salt water. Okay, good. Moving on to carrying. Here we go. Big difference between Shabbat and Yom Tov is carrying. On Shabbat, you're not allowed to carry into public domain. On Yom Tov, there's much more leniency. We're going to explain exactly what. 93. Since one may carry food from one domain to another, it's 100% mutar to carry food that you need on Yom Tov in the public place, because it's for food purposes. So that the Torah gives outright permission, just like you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov. So the Chachamim added, and they said you're also allowed to carry for other Yom Tov needs. Let's say talet, right? Talet and sidur bag, you're allowed to carry on Yom Tov, even in a place where there's no eruv. Usually on Shabbat, you're not allowed to carry your talit bag and sidur in a place with no eruv. But Yom Tov you're allowed, because it's considered a Yom Tov need. So that includes machzor, lulav and etrog, sefar Torah, a child, a baby you carry, a talit, house keys, cigarettes, medication, snuff, a watch, a cane, in the garbage if it's disturbing. All these things you usually are not allowed to carry on Shabbat in a place no eruv. Yom Tov you're allowed. 94. If one brought his machzor talit or something to the shul, you're allowed to bring it home on the way back from shul, even though you don't need it anymore on Yom Tov. It's not considered that you're preparing for it during the week. 96. When there's no eruv in the city, one may not carry an object from domain to domain on Yom Tov if it has no purpose. It has to have some sort of Yom Tov purpose to be able to carry in a place where there's no eruv. Therefore, if there's no eruv, one may not carry his car keys that he'll need after Yom Tov. However, if there's an eruv, then you're allowed to carry even not for a mitzvah purpose. 97. If a person was walking in a public domain in Yom Tov where there's no eruv, and he discovered that he has something of value in his pocket that serves no purpose on Yom Tov, he's allowed to continue carrying it until he arrives at a place where he may safely leave it. If the object's not valuable, he should throw it away and not continue carrying it. Okay, good. Muktzeh. Actually over here, Yom Tov is actually more strict than Shabbat. The Gemara explains, since there's so many leniencies on Yom Tov, more than Shabbat, the rabbis were scared that by Muktzeh people will be and it will be too lenient. So they made a little bit of a bolstering of the laws of Muktzeh by Yom Tov. 100. Regarding the halachot of Muktzeh, in some aspects, Yom Tov is treated actually more strict than Shabbat. While in other aspects, it's treated more leniently. 101. One of the aspects of Muktzeh is treated more stringently is regarding nolad. Nolad is something that came into existence on Shabbat and Yom Tov. Something that was born on Yom Tov, like newly laid eggs or freshly produced milk, is Muktzeh both on Shabbat and on Yom Tov. However, things that were already in existence before Shabbat or Yom Tov, but changed and assumed a new form on Shabbat or Yom Tov, are permitted on Shabbat and will be forbidden on Yom Tov. So you see, that's it's more strict than Yom Tov. Or 102, food that was originally meant for human consumption, and then it became fit only for animal consumption. That's still considered Muktzeh on Yom Tov, but it wouldn't be considered Muktzeh on Shabbat. Bones, let's say leftover bones, chicken bones, that would be Muktzeh for us. It's not fit for our consumption, but it's not Muktzeh at the end of the day on Shabbat, because you could give it to an animal. A dog might eat it. It's a soft bone. A dog might eat it. But on Yom Tov, what if a dog is the only animal, a person you could eat it? They could eat it, and a human wouldn't eat it. So that makes it Muktzeh on Yom Tov. Even on Shabbat, it wouldn't be Muktzeh. Right? Therefore, leftover chicken or meat bones or leftover nutshells, which an animal could eat, are considered Muktzeh on Yom Tov and may not be moved directly. So therefore, it's proper to remove bones and shells from one's table on Yom Tov. You should first put an edible piece of food on the plate, and then place the bones on the same plate. And that way, you could take away the plate, and they won't be considered Muktzeh. But on Shabbat, you wouldn't have this issue. You will be able to move the bones themselves because they're still edible for an animal. Okay, 107. One may not climb a tree on Yom Tov, just like on Shabbat. 108. Just like on Shabbat, one may not ride a bike on Yom Tov. Why can't you ride a bike? It's a little bit of the debate why you can't ride a bike on Shabbat. Some say because you might come to carry the bike in a place where there's no eruv, because sometimes you got to get off the bike and walk the bike. Walking the bike is considered carrying. You might be carrying in a place with no eruv. Number 2, the chain might break. You end up fixing it. Some adjustment you have to make on the bike on Shabbat. You might come to violate Shabbat of building. And then the third reason might be is because it's disrespecting the sanctity of Shabbat, the aura of Shabbat, the feeling of Shabbat, because this is a normal way of transportation people use during the week. So therefore, it gives that feeling that it's not a Shabbat, it's a weekday. So therefore, the Chachamim said we have to distance ourselves from such things. So therefore, that it applies on Shabbat Also applies on Yom Tov. Baruch Me'olam.